The Anthony Rendon contract is a disaster, and if we're being honest, it has been for years now. He's yet to play in 60 games in a season for the Angels. He hit more home runs in 2019 than 4 years combined in LA, and he's the fourth highest paid player in baseball this year, and he's barely been on the field. His media interactions have gone beyond strange, and his attitude towards the game has changed year by year for the worse. How the hell did this contract happen in the first place, and is there any hope for Angels fans that it might turn around? Today we're going to detail the entirety of the Anthony Rendon saga, and if you enjoyed this video, of course leave a like on the video and subscribe to the Jolly Olive channel, and ring the bell for all future notifications so you don't miss a single upload every Saturday. Let's go. Rendon was the Nationals' #1 prospect in 2013, a former first-round pick from just 2 years prior. Initially a second baseman, he kept his head above water in his rookie season, but broke out fully in a big way in his sophomore year back at third base. At just 24 years old, Rendon led the National League in runs scored and nearly picked up a 20-homer, 20-stolen-base season, hitting 26% better than the league average OPS+. He climbed all the way to 5th in National League MVP voting that season and took off from there. From 2017 to 2019, Rendon completed a 3-year stretch where he was easily one of the best hitters in all of baseball, usually overshadowed though by his star MVP-winning teammate Bryce Harper. He placed top 5 or better for doubles, batting average, runs batted in, and on-base plus slugging in this 3-year window, consistently in the company of MVP winners and all-stars. The last of this trio of seasons was by far his and his team's best showing. Rendon was a consistent monster throughout the entirety of the 2019 season, the Nationals' first season without the aid of Bryce Harper. They found another pretty good 18-year-old outfielder to replace him, but stepping into the spotlight was Anthony Rendon. He collected 15 or more runs batted in every single month. He had an OPS above 1,300 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. He led the league with 44 doubles and 126 runs batted in, and smacked a career-best 34 home runs. In a career of being overshadowed, even when leading his Nationals to the postseason, Rendon's amazing efforts were overshadowed once again by the even more amazing Bellinger vs. Yelich MVP race in 2019. Even in his best season, an MVP caliber year for sure, Rendon finished 3rd in NL MVP voting. But his eyes were set on a bigger prize, getting Washington over the hump in the playoffs. He had been a part of all but one of the franchise's playoff seasons to that point and experienced 3 painful first-round losses since his debut. But after an absolutely crazy wildcard win, Rendon had the chance to rewrite the narrative with him in the center of it. In the National League Division Series against the Dodgers, he hit over 400 and had an OPS over 1,200. His RBI double in Game 2 was the deciding run to even the series. Then he got the tying and go-ahead run batted in Game 4 to knot the series at 2 games apiece. Then went back-to-back with Juan Soto off Clayton Kershaw in the 8th inning of Game 5, scoring a winning run on Howie Kendrick's go-ahead grand slam later on. Rendon was a key piece to the Nationals finally winning their first playoff series, and they went off from there. Washington bulldozed St. Louis in that year's National League Championship Series. Rendon hit over 400 again, and Nationals pitchers allowed just 6 runs in 4 games to complete a sweep. In the Fall Classic that year, the Nats went on the road to take the first 2 games in Houston against the Astros. At home, though, they lost 3 in a row, scoring just 1 run in each game. Washington was faced with another trip to Houston down 3-2, needing to win both games again to survive and win their first World Series in franchise history. But Stephen A. Smith said it was over, so I guess there's no real point in recapping it, right?
But it's a wrap.
Let's go.
It's over. It ain't gonna happen. It's a wrap. How do you pronounce his name? Kind of Felifa or
Kind of Felifa.
Felifa, right. I want him gone.
In Game 6, Rendon collected the first run batted in and provided crucial 7th inning insurance runs with this massive 2-run homer to put Houston away for good. Then, in Game 7, in the 7th inning once again, his solo home run cut the lead in half, paving the way for another heroic home run for Howie Kendrick. This would put the dagger in the Astros as the pitching did the rest. At age 29, Anthony Rendon helped deliver the Nationals' first and only World Series championship. It was an absolutely magical run for this Washington team, but what I failed to mention amidst this magic run is that Anthony Rendon was going to be hitting free agency, and he had a desire to remain with the team long term. Washington did offer him a hefty extension as late as September of that year, a 7-year deal worth upwards of $215 million. The problem was that the star Nationals ace Steven Strasburg, who himself just won World Series MVP in his best career season, was also hitting free agency. Owner Mark Lerner said that the organization would not be able to sign both players, and in the end, they'd have to choose just one. They ended up choosing their longtime ace, as Strasburg agreed to a 7-year deal worth $245 million. Just 2 days later, Rendon left and found his new home on the exact same contract. Rendon joined the only man he trailed in wins above replacement in 2019, Mike Trout, as he signed a 7-year, $245 million deal with the Angels. The Nationals' deal for Strasburg is currently one of the worst in baseball, as many people know, mostly because of the myriad of injuries the ace has suffered since logging a career-high 245 innings between the regular season and playoffs in 2019. Strasburg is the 9th highest paid player this season with nothing to show for it, but if you climb up to the top 5, there's Anthony Rendon, alongside 2 Hall of Fame aces, last year's American League MVP, and 3-time MVP teammate Mike Trout. This would have made sense in 2019, but now, Rendon's contract is widely considered to be the worst of any position players in baseball. So how did this all happen? Despite going hitless in his first week with his new team, Anthony Rendon made a good impression in his Angels debut year during the pandemic season. He placed top 5 in American League MVP voting with a 150 OPS plus in 52 games. I want you guys to really remember this, because this is basically the last positive thing we're gonna mention for the rest of this video. No exaggeration. Anthony Rendon fans, cling on to 2020 like you're clinging on for dear life, alright? After hitting the injured list just one time in the 7 years prior, Rendon would be sidelined on 3 separate occasions during the 2021 season. Rendon was only on the field for 58 games in 2021 for Anaheim. This Angels team was the definition of average though, boasting a .500 record at some point in every single month of this season. They were never able to get over the hump due to injuries to Rendon, Mike Trout, Justin Upton, and Alex Cobb, just to name a few. They truly never stood a chance, and Anthony Rendon's season ended prematurely in early July to undergo hip surgery. So 1 season cut short by a pandemic and 1 season cut short by hip surgery. Okay, a bit of bad luck for Rendon, a little bit snake-bitten, but nothing truly comical yet. 2022 is where the head-scratching saga of this contract truly begins. Boasting a healthy roster of Trout, Ohtani, and Rendon, plus breakout bonus pieces in Taylor Ward, Jared Walsh, Patrick Sandoval, and Reed Detmers, the Los Angeles Angels stormed out of the gate to a 27-17 record in mid-May of 2022. Rendon notched his first signature highlight with his new team as well, cranking this lefty home run in a blowout game where Reed Detmers threw a no-hitter against the Rays. May I remind you, this man is not a switch hitter, although Joe Madden made sure to list him as one for their next game. This is the kind of carefree attitude that fans love when the time is right. We'll see it more and more moving forward where the timing is definitely wrong though. Through this solid stretch for the team, Rendon was a key contributor with a 113 OPS plus through the first 45 games. Then, basically out of nowhere, after their best start to a season in years, the team hit its worst skid in franchise history. The 2022 Angels lost 14 games in a row in May and June, causing manager Joe Madden to get fired mid-season in his 3rd year. With sweeps at the hands of the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Phillies, and the Red Sox, the Angels went from 1 game out of first place to 10 games out of first place by the end of all the losing. This historic Angels losing streak directly correlated with the absence of Anthony Rendon, who hit the injured list on May 26th and announced that he'd be undergoing season-ending wrist surgery after returning for just 4 games in June. It was a devastating blow for a reeling Angels team, certainly not helped when Rendon staged himself front and center in a brawl that took place just a week later with the Mariners, fighting Jesse Winker with his non-injured hand and receiving a 5-game suspension for his troubles. It was an ugly sight, but Rendon's clubhouse quotes signaled his frustration with not being able to play, and his burning desire to get back as quickly as possible. Even with his performance not being there, Angels fans could still bank on Rendon's desire to win still, right? That's what's made 2023 all the more perplexing. Rendon was now entering the halfway point of a disastrous 7-year deal, but he had a chance to start fresh this season and build optimism around the rest of the contract. It only took 1 game for all of that optimism to evaporate completely. After a disappointing 2-1 opening day loss to the lowly Oakland A's, Rendon was involved in an altercation with a fan as he exited the field with the team. Who knows what the fan truly said here in the first place, and the Coliseum Coliseum isn't exactly a great place for player privacy, being that they have to walk amongst the fans to even reach the clubhouse. But the point stands. The fact that this happened on the first night of the season was extremely disappointing, especially from one of the highest paid players not only on the team, but in baseball. He was obviously suspended for 4 games and was fined after the dispute. Surprisingly enough though, Rendon managed to stay healthy for the next month and a half and have his best stretch since the pandemic season. By May 12th, he was hitting .307 with an 801 OPS and over 100 at-bats. His production didn't match his paycheck certainly, but at the very least he was on the field and being productive, which is about all the 21-19 Angels could ask for at that point. But a groin injury would sideline him for 3 weeks, and upon his return, his hitting really snagged. Not only that, his attitude did as well. This quote from Sam Blum, who does great work with The Athletic covering the Angels, is just the first of many odd, avoiding quotes from Rendon in the 2023 season. Rendon had also declined to interact with the media at all on certain occasions, which too would become a common theme for this season. He returned shortly thereafter, but struggled. From June 6th to July 4th this season, Rendon went just 4 for 45 with 12 strikeouts and just 1 home run before, you guessed it, hitting the injury list again, this time with another wrist ailment. This is where Rendon's combative nature with the media began to worsen. Blum continued to get odd and dismissive quotes from Rendon regarding his rehab process for his wrist, like this one on June 29th. When asked about how his wrist was doing, Rendon dodges the question completely and just says that he has 2 wrists. Now, to be fair, on paper this is kind of funny, and Rendon was always an odd cat. He even admitted in an interview a few years ago that he never watches baseball, calling the sport too long and too boring, and that he prefers to watch the History Channel instead. Dads everywhere rejoiced at the time, trust me. Especially with the media and post-game interviews, he's had his fair share of contentious moments, but most seemed playful, like this one that he had as a national back in 2019 amidst a team slump.
So let's see if we can turn it around.
Is there any way you can get those hits? Is there
So we have these bats. And usually you try to square it up, and there's a baseball, and then you hit the outfield grass, and usually they're hit.
But his quotes in the Angels clubhouse this year have gone beyond perplexing to the point of mockery. The quotes would seem a lot better if Rendon was having a good season or even had a good season prior for the Angels, but he's been such a massive disappointment that this sarcastic act is coming off as very pompous. Since this most recent injury, Rendon has pretended to not be in the clubhouse to avoid questioning, and has even made up things to excuse him from answering about his progress towards returning. He's also deliberately said that he doesn't want to give the media too much detail about where he's at. Rendon's return is expected soon, but nobody can guarantee that, and this may be the final chance that he has to turn his whole thing around. His relationship with fans and teammates is damaged certainly, but not permanently. They need all hands on deck, and getting back Mike Trout, Logan O'Hoppe, and Rendon himself from injuries could be exactly what they need right now. Anthony Rendon will be 34 in the next year of his contract, but he still has 3 more years to turn things around, and it could happen. We've seen the kind of player that Anthony Rendon has been in the past. If he can redirect his mindset and focus on being healthy as much as possible, maybe there's 3 good years left in the tank for him. At his best, he can be a top 5 hitter in the sport and a great glove at third base, but at his worst, he can make a mockery of his team and make the Angels even more of a laughingstock than they already are to the rest of the league. Time will tell, but this is looking like it could be one of the worst MLB contracts of the 2000s. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, but if you've stuck around this long, why don't you hang out and hear a word from today's sponsor, the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can download their free and easy-to-use app, bet $5 on any wager, and win $150 in bonus bets instantly with promo code OLIVE. There's a lot of things you can bet on at the DraftKings Sportsbook, betting on your favorite team to win, betting on a certain player to hit a home run, betting on a certain pitcher to record as many strikeouts in a game. You can combine all of those bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payday with your bonus bet money. So take advantage of this offer today. There's so many bets to choose from, and all you have to do is bet $5 on any wager, and you can win $150 in bonus bets instantly with promo code OLIVE. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply, so see show notes for details, and any resources you might need for a gambling problem or addiction are listed down below as always. Thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you guys next week.